This is Bernie code switching. You love to see it, chat. We have a capitalist system, which means, like, how do you get your information? Information just doesn't go into your brain via fucking osmosis. Information has to be transmitted into your brain intentionally. And your brain has to be functioning, conscious, aware, and focused enough to pick up that information. And even if you get the information, you have to trust that information is accurate and believe the person and the way it's being presented to you. Because they know they need to be punished. They know they deserve to be punished. They're afraid. That's why they build bunkers. That's why they hire security. Because they're afraid. Because they know what they're doing is wrong. And if we take their money and we make everybody's life better, they'll relax. It'll actually help them. Do you see how important this is?
Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But your name won't start changing your ways.
All right, let's move on. Oh, I wanted to watch this Bernie Sanders interview. I don't know if you saw the, like, young men are getting more conservative and young women are being more left wing. I don't know if did you guys see that? There was like a chart with 2 lines. Well, one of the things that was really interesting about that was young men were actually more left than right during the Bernie Sanders campaigns. And so when Bernie Sanders was stopped, there was a generational opportunity to have a completely left-wing generation of young men and young women. And the reason is that Bernie Sanders was able to go into places like this, and he was able to go into places like Joe Rogan and make serious inroads.
And our guest, he's a United States Senator from Vermont. He's an independent, though he's been friendly with the Democratic Party over the years. He's been a congressman, a senator, a presidential candidate, and he's one of the biggest lightning rods in American politics. At the very end of the interview, we did experience some difficulties with our microphones, so we apologize for the change in sound there. We're grateful to welcome today's guest, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Wherever the leftists go, the audio fails.
So do you travel the country doing these things?
Yeah, mostly I traveled doing a stand-up comedy, but about 6 years ago, I started doing podcasting just in my kitchen at home. And mostly was just talking about, like, I've been in recovery for years, so mostly just talking about that kind of stuff.
Alcohol,
and like, yeah, alcohol and drugs and intimacy disorders. So a lot of that kind of stuff. And then we started having guests after about 2 years, and went on Joe Rogan a few times, and that helped boost the steam, you know? And yeah, it's been surprising since then.
Bernie,
congratulations.
Thanks. It's made me grow up some, which is a blessing and a curse, you know? But yeah, and I just went to the Grateful Dead the other day with my brother. So pretty cool. You ever see the Grateful Dead?
No.
You remember what was the first concert?
Oh man, Bernie Sanders be like, no, I don't listen to music. Fuck music.
You ever went to?
A name you probably wouldn't know. You ever hear of Pete Seeger?
I've heard of Bob Seger.
I think that there's something related. I was kind of into folk music, more into that.
Billy Strings, have you heard of him?
Yep.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's one of my favorites. Pete Seeger, that's him right there.
That's God. That was fast. Yeah, Pete, he's an interesting guy. He and there's another guy who died a long time ago. I don't know if you know his name. Woody Guthrie, is that name?
Woody Guthrie, I've heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, and actually his granddaughter helped me out during my campaigns. He wrote a lot during the Great Depression. So he went around the hobo camps, talked to poor people, you know.
Wow.
And he wrote songs. You ever hear the song, This Land Is Your Land? That's his song.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think somebody wrote that.
No.
The angels, when we've made America, the angels handed down, this land is our land.
He was a great songwriter and a great singer.
Woody Guthrie.
Woody Guthrie.
I'm going to have to tap into some of his stuff. Yeah, my brother and I went. You have a brother? You have a brother?
I have an older brother, yeah.
Yeah. You guys ever go to a concert together?
Nope, I don't think we. He lives in Oxford, England.
Yeah, it's fancy over there.
Well, yeah, but this. Yeah, have you ever been to England?
Yeah.
And they have this old university called Oxford University, which is one of the great universities in the world.
Yeah.
I stayed in a house, God, like it was 1,400 to 1,300. Who the hell knows? I mean, really.
Yeah.
This is Bernie code switching. You love to see it, chat. He's out of his, you know, this is like Bernie Sanders going up against a knuckleball pitcher. You know what I mean?
Way back.
Oh, yeah. The plum. Yeah. You got to bring your own plumbing, I'm sure.
Well, they've advanced a little bit, but.
Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be with you, Theo.
I really appreciate it. Whenever you started in politics, I'm sure that there was like a real idea of like one person can really affect change, right? Do you think that that's still possible today with like a lot of the lobbies and stuff that they have that goes on?
Well, I think, you know, one of the points I think everybody knows is you have a government dominated by big money interests, right? That's no great secret. So you have these billionaires now in their super PACs. If you're a billionaire, you can contribute hundreds of millions of dollars to elect people, to feed people. If you're a large corporation or you represent the pharmaceutical industry, do you know how many lobbyists there are in Washington, D.C. representing the big drug companies? Take a wild and crazy guess.
2,000.
You got it. That's a pretty good guess. About 1,800.
Wow.
So there are 100 members of the Senate and 435 members of the House. Got it? 535. And you got 1,800 lobbyists. Well-paid, former leaders of the Democratic Party, leaders of the Republican Party. They're there to say, hey, Congress, do everything you can to make sure we make as much money as possible. And who gives a damn whether people can afford the prescription drugs they need? So that's power.
So you have a whole other drug government almost going on.
Absolutely.
That's even bigger than our own government. Numbers wise.
Well, not big. That's we could define what we mean by bigger, but
that's fair.
But if you look at Wall Street, the power of Wall Street, the drug companies, the insurance companies, the fossil fuel industry, you have enormous wealth, enormous power. And if your question is it government that tells them what to do or they tell what the government to do? More the latter. They tell the government what to do. Very powerful.
Does it feel like that's changed over your time, like in politics, or has it always been that way?
I think to some degree, you know, money talks, right?
Yeah.
No great secret. That's always been the case. It's worse now, and I'll tell you why. As a result of this Citizens United Supreme Court decision, you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
So people brought action. Billionaires really brought action. They said, hey, it's undemocratic. You're taking away my freedom of speech, right? I got a First Amendment right. We're on TV now. You could say whatever you want to say, and I'm a billionaire, and I want to spend unlimited sums of money to defeat this candidate or support this candidate, and you have laws on the books now which restrict my freedom to buy the election. You understand what I'm saying?
100%.
Okay. And the Supreme Court said, well, guys, you're right. You're billionaires. You should be able to spend as much money as you want to buy elections. And that's what you have. So right now, this is literally the truth. You have super PACs where billionaires can put unlimited amounts of money, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to defeat people they don't like or to support people they do like. That's power. And that is a corruption of what democracy is supposed to be. Look, you and I can disagree on an issue, all right? 10 people. We argue it out, we vote, I get the majority, you get the majority, somebody wins, somebody loses. I don't think billionaires should be able to buy elections.
And I think most people think that. Most people are like, why are corporations or companies allowed to like give money to candidates and influence elections, right? Almost every person I know says that should be no. Whose responsibility is it to make sure it doesn't happen? Is it ours or is it the politicians?
Well, what happened is there were laws put in place, not as strong as I would like, but did limit the power of big money.
Yeah.
Okay. And what that Supreme Court decision said is what Congress did was unconstitutional, denied big money their freedom of speech. If you're a billionaire, you have freedom of speech. That means you can run ads all over the day and to, you know, beat Bernie Sanders, beat anybody. And that's what happened. So what we have got to do now is once again pass legislation that will do that.
Are there politicians that aren't viable, kind of, or aren't influenced by lobbyists?
Of course there are.
There
Yes,
are.
there are. Yeah, and there's some very good people. But many people, look, just throw out an example. You're running for election, okay? Your opponent is spending millions of dollars. These TV ads are up there, all right? Do you think you're going to stand up to powerful special interests who say, Theo, listen, I like you, but you're going to take that position on that issue. I got to be running millions of dollars of ads against you. What do you think you're going to do if you want to get elected? You could say, well, go to hell. I'm going to do it anyhow. And many do. Or you run the risk of, seeing that kind of money come against you.
Or you then have to find a lobbyist that has an interest of yours, and you have to try and fight back.
Which is a pretty pathetic thing, right?
Right.
So to some degree, what you have right now, it's a funny kind of thing. It's, let's say you were running against me. It's not you against me. It's your moneyed interest versus my moneyed interest. That's what super PACs are.
Yeah.
Now, corporations cannot directly contribute to your campaign, but big money interests, billionaires, can contribute to a super PAC. So you have all these. What I would say to you, people who watch the show here, look at the ads that are on television. They'll be underneath it. You'll see paid for by supporters of the American way of life, or whatever the hell it is. Understand that in most cases, these are billionaires putting money into a candidate.
So the super PAC is kind of the loophole.
Yep.
Is how they do it. So it's not directly from them.
Exactly. There are limits. All right, you wanted to contribute to my campaign. They're pretty stringent limits. You can't contribute. I think it's $5,000. Through a super PAC, you can contribute $100 million.
Wow.
That's a big issue. We don't talk about it enough. And then you can understand that if you're an ordinary person, who's going to listen to your interests, your needs, right? When billionaires are putting in this kind of money.
Right. If the best I can help you out with is $5,000, you might show up and shake my hand, but when the rickshaw hits the road or whatever, you're going to be working for the big dogs for the cash.
You got it. That's the way the system works.
And how do we change that?
Well, first of all, this campaign finance reform is a big deal. Just this one issue, and I'm glad you raised it. We got to do away with the citizens unit. We have to have restrictions. Okay. When I ran for president, the average contribution was $27. Okay. Roughly speaking, and we got millions of people to contribute. So I think there has to be a real stringent limit on the amount of money that any individual can put into the political.
Is it a simple fix to ban super PACs, or would that affect leftist grassroots campaigns as well? Oh yeah, there's all sorts of leftist grassroots campaigns getting super PAC money. No, it wouldn't hurt leftists at all. Is it simple to do? It depends on what you mean by simple. According to my definition of simple, the answer is yes. Of course it is. If you're a dumb lib, you wring your hands over any kind of power being exercised, then yeah, it's hard to do.
Process. And I also believe that
It's a good question, by the way. I wasn't laughing at you. I was just laughing at the idea of billionaires giving money to the left.
What we call public funding of elections. You're a candidate, all right? You want to run for governor. You want to run for senator. If you show that you have a certain amount of support, you got X number of thousands of people willing to put $5 into your campaign, you can be able to get public funding, and there's a limit at how much you can spend. These are not radical ideas. They exist in many countries around the world, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. Do you think that our election process is still democratic? Do you think it's still...
Yes and no. I mean, you want to run for office. Can you? Yeah, you can. You got a certain number of signatures. But if you're going to win, and I have 10 times more money than you do, I will beat you 95% of the time.
Wow.
I mean, that's a fact, right?
Right, yeah, 100%.
You'll beat me. Maybe if you're really an exceptional candidate and I'm a real idiot, you will beat me once in a while. But by and large, the money people will win. So if you're asking me, are we a democracy? In one sense, we are. All right, you can run for office. You can raise your issues. On the other hand, in terms of who has the real power, money people do. And I use the term oligarchy. An oligarchy is a society where small numbers of very wealthy people control the economic and political life of the country. I think we are moving rapidly in that direction.
Yeah, I feel like to me, it feels like a almost privatized communism in a way.
Right. That's a very good point. It's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly sometimes everything of what communism is and what socialism is, but sometimes that's how it feels.
Well, let me give you an example. Can I pick up on your point?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I believe We are the only nation on earth, major nation, wealthy nation, that does not guarantee health care to all people, okay? Get in your car, go 50 miles where you are sitting right now in Burlington, Vermont. You have a terrible automobile accident. You're in the hospital for a month in Canada. Do you know what the bill is when you come out? Zero.
Nothing.
Okay. Do you know how much the Canadians spend per person on healthcare compared to us? 1/2 as much. They spend half as much. You don't take out your wallet. If you get sick, you go to the doctor that you want. Okay. I believe in that type of system. They guarantee healthcare to all of their people. It's publicly funded the way we fund police departments, fire departments, and libraries. Okay. You got to pay taxes for it. But at the end of the day, it is less expensive for your healthcare. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're a proponent for healthcare for all, right?
I absolutely
and yes, and you always have been. And but how the system seems so rigged because you have like one of the number one causes of bankruptcy in America is medical debt, right?
Yes.
Unbelievable. Like people can't, people. They go in, they don't even know the cost. They sign an agreement that they're going to be billed later, right? It's like, and then they get the bill and it's astronomical and they spend the rest of their life literally a slave to the healthcare system or to the medical billing system or the dealing with their insurance, and not to mention they're sick. So the added stress of that, it just feels like, like something so much better could be done.
Theo, that is so pathetic and so sick and so cruel. I mean, we did a hearing on this, and roughly speaking, and I know the viewers will think this is like hard to believe. Half of the people who are dealing with cancer, now cancer is a terrible disease, right? Your point.
100%.
You're struggling for your life, right?
Bad, yeah,
Maybe
bad.
you make it, maybe you don't. You got radiation, chemotherapy, bad stuff, right? Half the people who get cancer treatment either end up in bankruptcy or utilizing all of the financial resources of the family. They're depleted. They're broke. So imagine that. You go into the hospital, doctor says, Theo, sorry, you got cancer, terrible. You're worried to death, right? Your friends, your family are worried. And then on top of that, what are you worried about? Oh, my God. What, I'm going to have to sell my house? Or I have to go bankrupt in order to pay medical bills? That is insane.
Yeah.
And it adds, if you're trying to deal with cancer, then you got to worry about financial stress. Think it's going to make your condition any better?
No, the worst. You spend half your day, you can't even, in the insurance companies, it's all a rigmarole. It's constant stress. But how is it set up like that? Like, what is the gimmick between insurers and the hospital? That's the thing I don't know. What's going on?
All right, take it a step. Let's take a step further.
Okay.
Let me talk about the Canadian system. All right.
Okay.
Simple system. You pay taxes. And progressive. The more you make, the more you pay. But everyone pays taxes. All right. End result is you walk into the hospital, you sign your name, you got all the treatment you need. And it's good quality healthcare. You don't have to argue with insurance companies. You get the care that the doctors think you need. End of discussion. And in my view, that's the way it should be. It's not just that the insurance companies make huge profits. They do. Not just they pay their CEOs exorbitant salaries, which they do. Everybody's got to fill out 1,000 different forms, right? Goes crazy. Filling out forms to see what you're entitled to, what you're not entitled to, deductibles, right?
Yeah, the bureaucracy, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Is that called bureaucracy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. All right, so look, you may have health insurance, but I just talked to a person the other day. We had a meeting. You know what their deductible was? $13,000. What does that mean? It means that the first $13,000 of illness they got to pay out of their own pocket. How many people can make $13,000? So if you get hit by a truck and you run up $1 million bill, yeah, the insurance companies will kick in, presumably. All right, so the whole idea that healthcare in America, unlike every other major country, all right, go to Europe, go to Canada, go to many Latin American countries. It is a bloody right, not a privilege, and that's what I think it should be. So we have a system that works very well for the insurance companies and the drug companies. In some cases, you're going to pay 10 times more for medication in America than they do in other countries. That's a whole other story we're trying to deal with right now. But it's a corrupt system benefiting the people who own it, not the ordinary American. You go out on the street, say to people, do you think healthcare is a human right? All people in America should have it? Yeah, we do. That's what I'm fighting for.
And then who are the lobbyists that are against that then?
What do you think? The guys from the insurance companies and the drug companies.
Okay, and then what politicians work with those? Like, why don't we know what politicians are cheating us so that we don't have them in anymore?
All right, you're a smart guy. You tell me, How often have you heard?
And this is the point, is that we have a capitalist system, which means, like, how do you get your information? Information just doesn't go into your brain via fucking osmosis. Information has to be transmitted into your brain intentionally. And your brain has to be functioning, conscious, aware, and focused enough to pick up that information. And even if you get the information, you have to trust that information is accurate and believe the person and the way it's being presented to you. All that shit doesn't happen on its fucking own. So what does that mean? It means that the people that are profiting from this system go out of their way to shape perceptions of the system and to target opponents to the system. You don't just learn things through magic.
Discussion in this country about how broken the healthcare system is and comparing it to other countries.
A lot.
All right. You've heard a lot about this?
Well, I mean, I think I hear a lot about, I look into it a lot.
Oh, you look into it. But how many people even know that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee healthcare to all people? So when people say, oh, Bernie Sanders is a radical idea, he thinks everybody should have healthcare. Really? That exists in Canada, it's in France, in England, in Denmark, in Sweden, in every bloody country on earth, virtually, rich country. So it's not a radical.
Even Mars, I heard they have healthcare there now.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Now, some people would say that the argument against that would be that then there's less personal responsibility to take care of yourself, right? But do you
really?
But that would be in other countries anyway, right? That would be in anywhere.
If God forbid you or I came down with a serious illness tomorrow, am I going to blame you for coming down with cancer? I mean, is that a personal responsibility?
It's a good point. Yeah, probably not. That might just be kind of a ghost of an argument.
And but to pick up on that point, what should one of the priorities of a good healthcare system be? It should be to try to keep people healthy. So it should encourage people to have good diet, to do exercise, to stay away from, addictive stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Do we do a particularly good job on that? Not so much. Because where do the insurance companies make their money? Hey, if you're really sick, pretty good.
Yeah.
We keep you healthy, not so much.
Are they one of the largest lobbyist groups?
Yep.
Wow.
Very, very. They're huge. I mean, and we started this discussion. You talk about, privatized communism, whatever the expression you used. I believe that, Medicare is the health insurance program for the elderly. Mm-hmm. Medicaid is for lower income people. I think we should combine all these and guarantee health care to all people. But your point is that in the private sector, we are moving to a monopoly. And it's true. People like United Health, unbelievable. United Health, to the best of my knowledge, has under contract or hires 10% of the doctors in America. Got that? One insurance company. 10% of the doctors.
And so how would you even start to undo something like that? Like, what's a realistic path to reform, I guess?
Thanks. Great question. Because I wrote the bill, I know the answer. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Right now,
NBC is filming a day in the life with me. I have a big announcement with Twitch. Felix Biederman will be on the broadcast. I still haven't told Cutie Cinderella the ceasefire negotiations might fail on Thursday and World War III might happen, which would ruin her Beyblade tournament. Hassan, I'm pretty sure that Americans are going to still do their Beyblade tournament, Like, Americans are not going to care if the few percentage of Americans who are involved in the military are dying. Like, Americans are going to keep watching the slop. They don't give a shit. The only way you're going to get Americans mad about foreign policy is when you start drafting them. He means he won't show up? Oh, yeah.
You have Medicare.
Why would that ruin it?
Which is a very popular program. It's life-saving to many elderly people. That was developed in the 1960s by President Lyndon Johnson. Okay, very popular program. You got Medicaid for the lower-income people, also a popular program. What I would do is, over a 4-year period, take Medicare. First thing you do is expand Medicare, because Medicare does not now cover dental, hearing, or vision. A lot of people can't afford to go to a dentist. Got me?
Yeah.
Okay. You expand it. And then you say, right now, to be eligible for Medicare, you got to be 65 years of age.
Okay.
First year, lower it to 55. So you're 57, congratulations. You don't have to worry about whether you have insurance on your job. You want to hear something else crazy about the private insurance system. You work for a big corporation, okay? They give you good health insurance. He works for McDonald's, virtually nothing. All right? That's pretty crazy. Where you work determines the kind of health care you get. Anyhow, so we go from 65 down to 55, 55 next year down to 45, 45 to 35, fourth year you cover everybody. Gradual absorption. So you have a Medicare system that covers all people. You no longer have to pay any more deductibles or co-payments, no more premiums. You get your health care because you're an American citizen. Will your taxes go up? They may. Will it be less than what you pay right now in private insurance? Yes, it will be. It's a good deal.
Can we afford that as a country, you think?
Sure.
Yeah?
We are now spending over $4 trillion on healthcare. We spend double. Here's another point to be made. We spend twice as much per person on healthcare as any other country because it's designed to make money for the insurance companies and the drug companies.
Wait, so explain it to me. So we spend twice as much on health care
We are spending right now, Theo.
as any other country
Yes.
per person.
Yes.
But the money isn't going towards them getting, so we'd almost save the money just by.
You got it. All right. Here, example.
Is that
All right.
true?
Yes, it's true.
Yes, it's true.
Check it out. It is true. Chairman of the bloody committee. Yes, it is true. All right.
Bloody.
Everybody knows that. Well, I mean, listen, like, and whenever you get it down into these details and you start talking about these facts, typically when people oppose universal, Medicare for whatever reason, one of the arguments they make is, well, isn't there a lot of people working for the insurance companies who will lose their jobs? Like, there's a lot of middlemen who are like, and a lot of executives, and they're all making a bunch of money. Like, won't they lose all their jobs? Well, like, millions of people might lose their jobs if we got rid of health insurance. That is legitimately an argument they make against it. We need to keep the middlemen whose job is denying people health care over providing health care to people that need it. That is legitimately an argument. Wouldn't it be deflationary, Mike? Yes, it would be. It would be deflationary to do Medicare for all, meaning it would reduce the cost of goods and services in America. It would make prices go down while also at the same time increasing utilization of the health resources that we have, meaning more people would get more care for less money. That is what the evidence says. And people oppose this. Legitimately crazy to me. This is one of those things where I'm just like baffled every single time I think about this. Grabner quotes President Barack Obama on the topic of healthcare. Everyone who supports single-payer healthcare says, look at all the money we would save it from insurance and paperwork. The former president noted that represents 1 million, 2 million, 3 million jobs. Do you have that? Do you have a link to that? Do you have a video of that? Because I love when I get pointed right. Sorry,
Literally,
chat.
people are.
Get back to the Bernie interview.
All right.
I'm just enjoying that
If I
scumbag
buy
losing.
a car tomorrow for $80,000, you buy a car for $40,000. What is the presumption? Should my car be a better car than yours?
Yes.
Okay, I'm spending twice as much, all right, but I got a much better car than you have. All right. We are spending per person, over $13,000. All right, spending $13,000 on you, $13,000 on me, $13,000 on a 5-year-old, $13,000 on a 90-year-old, all right? $13,000 per person, over $4 trillion nationally. Canadians are spending about half of that per person.
And they're taking care of everybody.
Yes. And the British are spending less than that. Other countries, a little bit less.
But does that affect us with the population number that we have?
Doesn't matter. I mean,
It's
per person.
Got it. Okay.
I'm not talking about in gross, but
Right.
per person.
How do you stop hospitals from overcharging?
That's part of it's a corrupt system.
If they know that the government's going to pick up the tab.
Good. Very good question. And the answer is what they do. And I mean, it's not like we're inventing something. Other countries do it. What they say to hospitals is, look, you're not going to be charging Theo when he's in the hospital. You're not going to be charging him a nickel. But we know, roughly speaking, in a year what you are going to be. You need a certain number of doctors and radiologists and nurses and all that stuff. Here is your budget. It's like a police department. Here's your budget in a year. You need more, maybe we come up with more. You get what we call a global budget.
It's like the Dodgers or something.
But you got a global budget.
Right, you got a budget.
And you take care of all the needs. It's not per person. You get it. And what you do there, we spend as a nation, one of the other insanities of this healthcare system, we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on billing. You know what I mean by that?
Medical billing, yeah.
All right. So I'm the insurance companies. First of all, you got to fill out forms. I hire people who are not doctors or nurses, right? They just bill.
Oh, yeah.
All right. You got bill collectors. You go to a hospital, go down into the basement, got 100, well, depending on the size of the hospital, dozens and dozens of people. They don't see a patient. They're just filling out forms.
Yeah, half the Philippines is people just doing medical billing over the phone, you know?
Well, there are countries where you show your card and that's the end of the discussion. But we waste hundreds of billions of dollars just on billing people. Now, there's another issue I want to discuss. Life expectancy. What do we know about life expectancy?
We're getting pretty long in the tooth.
Nope.
We're not living long.
Nope. Compared to whom?
Compared to probably Vietnam.
I'm sure, maybe. All right, but all right, we are the richest country on earth. Do we live longer lives than other people?
No, we don't.
We do not.
I love how Bernie's like quizzing you. He's like, all right, nope, we don't live that long. Are we living long?
Why is that?
Well, I mean, I think it could be that we're not taking as good care of ourselves.
Okay.
And I think it could be that, that we don't have as good a health care.
That's right. All right. I think that's two out of three. All right. Now, here, there are two facts. Japan, other countries will live 4 or 5 years, 6 years longer than we do. That's a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they'll live, I forgot what it is.
Like 8% or something.
Yeah, right. It's a lot. But here's another fact that is really unbelievable. It's not just that we live shorter lives despite spending so much on healthcare. The gap between the 1% and the working class is 10 years. If you're rich, you'll live as long as people in other countries. You'll have a long life, in the 80s or whatever it is. If you're working class, you're going to live 10 years younger. How does that happen, do you think?
Wow. Because just stress, burnout.
All right. I'm going to sign you up there. You got it.
See, here's the thing. I think one of the things that this is why Bernie Sanders is such a singular figure in American politics and why he's so important. And like, I like AOC and I like, some of these other squad members, but they're not showing up to places like this. They're not having these conversations. They're not getting treated with respect. They're not going down in the weeds. This is how you pull people to the left. This kind of outreach is absolutely vital. Theo may be a dumb fucking comic, but Bernie Sanders going in there and showing him respect and having these conversations and doing this in front of his audience is how you convince people to be left wing. This is literally vital shit. And where are the Democrats, man? Where are the fucking Democrats? Nowhere to be found. Bernie can sit down and riff with anyone. And to be fair, Theo has done a pretty good job of keeping up. Yeah, I know, exactly. Theo has been. But here's the thing. Here's the other thing. I bet you at the beginning of this conversation, so many people were looking down on Theo and going, oh, he's a dumb fucking dipshit comic. What the fuck does he know? He's a moron. I don't want to listen to this idiot. Fuck this guy. But you know what? He has been able to have this conversation, kept up, put effort in, focused, and showed a better side of himself.
Look, I think I like a lot of the things that you think about.
All right, let's deal with the issue of stress.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. It is twofold, it seems to me. Number one is if you're rich, you go to any doctor you want, when you want it, pay for all the drugs you need, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's a real advantage. But above and beyond that, working class people live under enormous stress, right? And that takes a toll on you. Takes a toll on you physically and mentally. And that is, we have parts of this country where life expectancy is actually in decline. Got it? People are living shorter lives.
Because of the stress.
Because of the stress. And with that stress and the hopelessness, they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, they turn to suicide.
Yeah.
All right? Bad stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think those are things that, they don't even take those factors into consideration when they're making all of these, you call to get your medical bill. It's a nightmare. It's like, it's a fight. You almost want to, this is crazy. There's been times when I've been like, I would rather take my own life than sit here and make another fucking call. And I'm not even sick, I'm just somebody trying to get to the bottom of the.
All right. And why does that happen?
Because it's loopholes.
It's so they can take your money and not give you health care.
They don't want you to get paid.
You got it. Not that hard. Look, you pay me money through insurance, right? So you're sick. I'm supposed to, pay your bills, right? If I drive you crazy, you're going to say, screw it. Hell with it. I'll pay the goddamn thing myself. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm the insurance company. It's like, hey, right on, man. That's exactly what I wanted.
Today, we're here to celebrate the perfect summer grooming.
Right to manscaped.com. The Bernie Sanders Manscaped transition.
So how do we change that as a system? What do we do? Because it feels like we're electing people that have this in our best interest. If it's the number one cause of bankruptcy is medical billing, how do our politicians not see that this is extremely important and that things need to be different? What are they lobbying so powerfully with? I know it's money, but it's like, I just can't imagine that people wouldn't see the good, the value in what is right.
Well, it's all that I can tell you is money talks to a large degree. And it's not to suggest that, members of Congress are evil or terrible people that want people to suffer. They don't. But you have a system which almost says, oh, you can't even think about guaranteeing health care to all people. Oh my God, what kind of, you're a far leftist.
Yeah.
What, you're a communist, man? What are you? You want to take on the insurance companies, hardworking people, So it almost, you're not even allowed to talk about those issues. And meanwhile, we're the only country that doesn't guarantee health care at all.
Yeah, I mean, my one caveat, and I don't know exactly what caveat means, but I think my one, left turn on it would be, how much responsibility then are people going to just have totally less responsibility and just be taking pills? I don't know. Maybe that's just a crazy thought, but if it's not happening in other countries, then maybe that's a good example that it wouldn't happen here.
It is an issue in other countries. For example, all right, you're a lonely older person. Maybe you're living by yourself. I'm feeling lonely. Maybe I'll go to the doctor, right? When I'm not really sick, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Will people abuse it? Yeah. So what? I mean, it happens and you try to discourage that. So no system is perfect.
Right.
But the bottom line, as Americans, we have to answer a very simple question. Is healthcare a right of all people, whether you're rich, poor, medium, whatever you are? I think the answer is yes.
Well, I think especially when you start to look at other places that we spend our money, it would be very hard not to say this, we should certainly spend it there first. Good. It's just fucking unbelievable that we're this powerful of a country and we don't have it's like we lost our emotional.
That's a good point. And I'll tell you something else. Let me get off of healthcare for a second.
Okay. Well, before we get off, so I know that you guys have a bill, because I have a group that I've worked with, done volunteer stuff with, called Power to the Patients, right?
Good.
And it's notating the prices of, like, say you get an MRI, like the hospital now has to let you know that the MRI is $700, so you can call the hospital down the street and see that there it's $550.
Oh, I'd rather fucking. Okay, can I be honest, chat? That sounds like fucking terrible. That sounds fucking terrible. Why the fuck do I have to spend my time trying to haggle with my fucking MRI and travel around? Like, sometimes you can't do that. I need an MRI and I can't go to the next hospital down the street because I'm sick or injured. What the fuck are you talking about? This is dumb shit. This is worthless. The nightmare.
So you can make a choice, so you know up front.
That's correct.
So you're not getting a $10,000 bill later on.
You got it. It's called the transparency bill.
Transparency bill. And is it passed yet or no?
No, it has not. I'm working with it with a guy named Senator Braun from Indiana, who's a Republican. Good guy. And look, it's exactly the issue. People walk into an emergency room. They walk into a hospital. Do you have any idea? Here, Theo, this is what we're going to do for you, blah, 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 blah. And you come out and you drop dead because you see a bill of tens of thousands of dollars, right?
That's the crazy part. Yeah.
I mean, people go in surgery. They come out hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
It is.
It's insane. All right. And the point is, look, I should have the right to know. You want to hear? You think it's crazy? Let me tell you how crazy. It's even crazier than you think it is. Okay. You have Blue Cross insurance. I have another insurance company. Same hospital. You go and get an MRI. Your insurance company will pay $500. My insurance company pays $700. So even in the same hospital for the same treatment, the price is different, not to mention different hospitals.
Yeah. Well, it's just wild that they can do that. It's almost like I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to get an apple, right? I'm going to eat it. And then after I eat it, you're going to tell me how much it costs.
You got it. That is
and they're like, it's $400. You're like, is it from the Garden of Eden? You know, like,
but it's even worse. You're exactly right. But it's even worse because you had to go to the hospital.
Right. Right. Yes, it wasn't a choice that you made. I know you guys had launched an investigation, even because this is kind of current, about Ozempic, right? And the cost of Ozempic in different countries. Because I was dating a girl, or not dating, but we met up a couple times at night or whatever. And it's like she was leaving one morning to drive to Mexico to get Ozempic. And I'm like, what are you? You're just driving in the middle of at 5 a.m. to go to, what's going on? And she's like, well, it's just way cheaper there. And I'm like, but is it as regulated? I don't know. But I know that in some countries, the prices on it are so different. Like in Canada, it's $150 something.
Got it.
And in America, it's 700 and something.
Close to $1,000.
It's close to $1,000 for a diabetes medication. I know some people use it for, kind of
weight loss.
Yeah, weight loss, or look the way they want, spring break or whatever. But that's crazy. Why isn't it just the same? Is it because they know they can charge us more because we have more money?
That's half of it, but only half of it. That's a great question. Thanks for asking it. All right. It's what my committee deals with every day. We've had, by the way, some success in the last few years, and the Biden people have done a good job on this. All right. Why is it that, I want to make sure I'm right here. Well, certainly in Canada, it's about $150 for Ozempic. Mm-hmm. Here it's $900, close to $1,000. Why is that? What the Canadians do and what countries around the world do, what makes common sense, they purchase a lot of the drug, right? All right. So they sit down with the drug companies. They say, look, we have hundreds of thousands of people who are going to use your drug. We're going to sit down and we're going to negotiate a price, right?
Right. Of course, certainly after a few months, you should be able to see the averages and make a good business choice. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're a businessman and you're buying something from me, you're buying, thousands of items, I'm going to have to give you a discount if I want your business, right?
Certainly.
All right. That's the way the business works. So that's what every country on earth does. They sit down with the drug companies. Some do it more stringently than others. Up until very, very recently, there have been no requirements, zero, for the drug companies to negotiate anything. So they come in and they say, they have the board. What do you think we can get, Harry? Sitting around their board of directors. Well, actually, I think you can get $10,000 a year. I think you can go high. I think you can get $20,000. Look, we get what the market will bear. The government has no power. Wow. Charge them anything you want.
Well, the other thing is the only reason why they can do that is because a drug is, you're not paying for the drug. I want to say that again, so everybody in the back can understand what I'm saying. When you buy a drug, you're not paying for the drug. All right. When you go to like Costco or, Walmart or Target or your Walgreens or whatever, and you go get a 500 tablet big old bottle of ibuprofen and it's like $15. You know what I'm talking about, chat? When you go into so what it takes to make ibuprofen is about as hard as it is to make most drugs. There's some exceptions to this with nuclear medicine and things like that, some chemotherapy that's cutting edge. But for the most part, when somebody makes something like ibuprofen, it's pretty much just as complicated as most prescription drugs that you buy. So when you spend $1,000 on a prescription drug, it's not because it takes them $1,000 to make the fucking thing. It's $1,000 because there's a patent on the drug. What is a patent? A patent is a government-granted monopoly. If anybody else tries to make that drug, they'll get sued for patent infringement. So there's absolutely no competition. We treat drugs the same way we treat an original movie or something. You make a movie and somebody else takes your movie and tries to sell it as their movie, you could sue them for copyright infringement. Similarly with drugs. What you're paying for is a government-granted monopoly. Well, how did we figure that out? We made it up. We fucking made it up. How long is the patent? How long should the patent be? We made it up. So when you pay that money, you're actually paying money because the government is making you do it. It's not because the market will bear or whatever. It's because the government is mandating that if you want this drug, you have to go to this company and they get to charge you whatever the fuck you want. And if you don't like it, die. That's insane.
That's what they do. So you got now, it's not just Ozempic, in which we pay in some cases 15 times more than European countries. It's all kinds of drugs. So the answer to your question is, up until recently, and the Biden administration has done a good job of this, there have been no capabilities of the government, Medicare, anybody else to negotiate prices. They charge you anything they want and as much as they possibly can. What we did is part of a bill called the Inflation Reduction Act, stupid title to the bill, but that's what it was. Finally have that the drug companies are going to have to sit down with Medicare and negotiate prices. They're going to be announcing some interesting results pretty soon. So for the first time, there is the beginning of negotiating prices, and it will lower prices. Second of all, what we've done on my committee, a lot of people have asthma, and they use inhalers. I don't know if you know anybody using an asthma inhaler.
Yeah.
All right. 10 times more expensive in the United States. So we kind of shamed some of the big companies. They lowered it down to, some of them, to $35. So making some progress on lowering the cost of prescription drugs. But to answer your question, up until a couple of years ago, drug companies could charge any price they wanted for any reason.
And now, and that could be changing with the Inflation Act?
Yeah, Inflation Reduction Act. What it basically says is the 10 top selling drugs, they're going to have to come then and sit down and negotiate with Medicare price. That is, by the way, what the Veterans Administration does. The VA in America does a good job.
Yeah.
They don't pay outrageous prices. They negotiate, and that's what Medicare is beginning to do.
Yeah, if you can't breathe, I mean, yeah, you're almost a fish if you can't breathe, you know?
Yeah, if you can't breathe, you're going to die.
Let's talk about some politics. Oh, wait, and the price transparency, that's happening now? Like people have to show their prices or they don't?
No, they don't. We still haven't passed that bill.
Okay. Do you think it's going to happen?
It's a popular bill. I think we have a good shot to get it done.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, man, it makes me just sick because somebody's already sick. And
You're
you
right.
know they're sick. Like if it were your family member, what you want them to just sit there and just be angry? They're on the phone every day. Then they don't have any energy for their own family. It just
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I just can't imagine choosing, especially when you're already making a ton of money, choosing to make a little more money. What do you need?
But now you're raising even another issue.
What do you need?
You're talking about corporate greed here, but that's another issue.
Yeah, I know you hate it. And we all hate it. I think America's at the point where the screw has been turned so fucking tight that I think, yeah, it starts to create radicalization, starts to create a lot of stuff. Let's talk about the election coming up right now, or just the current candidacy. I wanted in 2020, I believe that's when you ran. I wanted you and Donald Trump to be on the same ticket, right? That was a thought that I had because
Fucking dummies.
because in my mind, I'm just a regular guy. I don't know a ton about politics,
Dummies,
right?
yeah.
I felt both y'all were outliers, right? That's how it seemed to me. These guys are both outliers. They're both different.
Bernie's going to say, listen, Donald Trump is a fraud, and I'm not.
But seem to be doing their own thing. You've been outspoken against Trump, right? Do you think he's not? Is he doing his own thing, or is
Yes, he is. Look, I will give Trump credit. Okay, he does his own thing. Okay, he's a very different type of politician, and that's clear. But this is what I do think, Theo. While I respect somebody who has the guts to do their own thing and be very much a non-traditional politician, which is what he is, here's the facts. He lies all the time. Right? And, you know, I got 4 kids and I got 7 grandchildren, and we really have to ask ourselves whether the guy who is the leader of the country, whether that's the kind of example that we want. So I have a lot of friends in politics.
So this is actually a good strategy by Bernie, which is he didn't humiliate Theo for being a fucking idiot, which he clearly is. He said, listen, we're not that similar. He's dishonest. Everybody understands that Donald Trump lies. So he separates himself from Donald Trump by going after Donald Trump, not shitting on Leo for being a dummy. That's how you do it, folks.
with me, more conservative people. They're not liars. We disagree. So you and I disagree on something.
It's fine.
So what? It's called American democracy.
Yeah, it used to be fine.
That's right. All right. But Trump really is, I use the word pathological. He lies. There's when you see him on television, not everything, but a lot of lies. Okay. And I think we can't have that. When he was in the private sector, before he became involved in politics, he was sued, his companies were sued 4,000 times. And I just, above and beyond his political views, which I disagree with, but then those you can discuss. I don't think you want somebody leading this country who is shady.
So you're saying he doesn't set the best example of
Exactly. Look, you got kids. Do you have any kids?
I don't have any yet.
All right. Well, hope you do. And you want kids to be honest, right?
Yeah.
You don't want them to be bullies and picking on the weak. And so that from a character point of view, I don't like it. But also, let me give you another example. I happen to believe, I don't know what your views are, that women have a right to control their own bodies. All right. I don't want, as a man, somebody saying, "Oh, Bernie, you can't have a vasectomy. You can't do this. It's my business, not the government's." And Trump does not hold that view. I happen to believe strongly that climate change is real. We got the, just a week or two ago.
Yeah, I saw your podcast with Bill Billinkoff.
Bill McKibben, of course. I've known Bill for years.
Bill McKibben, yeah.
Yeah, and Bill is...
I want to get to speak to him. He seems really interesting.
Smart guy.
Is he?
I've known him for years.
Yeah, because I want to learn more about, you just
Can
always...
we get this emote, please? That's so good. Oh man. That's what oh god, someone just said the dumbest thing you ever heard.
Let's hear about climate change, and so I want to learn more about it.
Good. I hope you do. And I'm sure Bill would be happy to go on the show with you.
That'd be cool.
If you wanted, I can give him a call.
Awesome.
In all of the scientists agree, when you put carbon into the atmosphere, it creates a ceiling there. The earth warms up, and then because of the earth warming up, you have extreme weather disturbances like you come from Louisiana, do you?
Oh yeah, we're sinking.
You've seen the terrible floods there. We've had them here in Vermont.
Yeah, they have in Savannah right now going on.
Right, that's right. Floods the likes of which we've never seen. You're seeing drought. In Saudi Arabia, the temperature reached 125 degrees, which people are dying by the hundreds. So Trump does not believe that climate change is real. And if he becomes president, that means not only will the United States, the whole world will give up. And I don't know what this planet is going to look like in, 10, 15 years.
And do you say that because America is really the leader of the forefront of looking out for climate change?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
We're the largest economy in the world.
Right.
Now, China is a bigger polluter than we are right now.
Oh, yeah, dude. They all smoke, too. A lot of Chinese people. Yeah, that kid that smokes on that bicycle or whatever, he's smoking like 11 cigarettes.
But if we say, hey, the hell with it, then other countries are going to, because it's a global problem.
Right. Then
I'm
everybody's
pretty sure that kid isn't from
everybody backs
China.
off.
I'm pretty sure he's from
And then I don't
Southeast
know-
Asia, right? Like the
This
Philippines or
floods,
something.
it's going to get worse. And
I'm
worse.
pretty sure in China, if you did that to your kid, the fucking state would show up and hit you on the head with a fucking club. Indonesian? Okay, that sounds about right.
Heat waves, worse, drought, worse, migrations. There are millions, hundreds of millions of people, little farmers in poor countries. They can't farm anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So I disagree with Trump on that. So those are some of the reasons why, I'm strongly against them.
Those are important issues, I certainly, And I don't think it's like everybody can have their own thoughts on different issues. And do you see why people like him?
I do. Because he's very disarming. He gets up there and he says whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
He is not.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's by the book. That was a thing.
He is not by the book.
Right. And so that's something the same as you. It's like he's speaking for, it feels like they're speaking for themselves, right? Whether you agree with maybe what they believe what they're saying. And that, I think, comes through.
I think you're right.
Clearly to people.
I think, he's certainly unusual. Gets up there and he rants and he does his thing, and he's not necessarily, I'm sure his advisors go crazy, but he's not not reading off, he doesn't have 14.
Kid Rock is one of his advisors, And look, I love Kid Rock, but I don't know if every advice, every advice of his is the best. But now some of it is, that's for sure. But some of it may not.
You're right.
Be.
And
See, this is Bernie doing. This is really just shows you how good of a politician Bernie Sanders is. If you've ever wondered, like, why is Bernie Sanders the only socialist in the Senate? And the answer is because he's so good in all these different settings and connecting with people. He's really good at this.
A lot of these politicians have 18 different consultants. You can't use that word. You can't say that. And he's
that
not
makes
like
it
that.
miserable. He's not like that, right?
And people find that appealing. I get it. But, again, I don't think you could have a pathological liar or somebody who doesn't believe in women have the right to control their bodies, who doesn't believe in climate change. I think that's bad. And by the way, I'm not quite so sure how much he believes in democracy as well.
Yeah. Well, and look, yeah, that's how you feel, and it's important. And you've always had your own feelings, and I appreciate you always having them and sharing what they are. Did you feel like whenever the people tried to assassinate, did you think it was deeper than that? Or do you think it was just some Reddit jockey just on?
First of all, it was horrible. I mean, I disagree with Trump on everything, but the idea of people assassinating Trump or anybody else is
it's crazy.
It's crazy. It is horrible, and I can't give you the words. It's just terrible. We cannot have that in American politics. My own guess, and I'm not an expert, I'm sure there are a lot of, conspiratorial theories that are out there. I think you have, we've seen it before. You've seen seemingly normal people walking into schools with guns doing horrible things, right?
Yeah.
And I think you had, for whatever reason, I don't want to even speculate why this young man did what he did.
But you just think it was a young man who that was it.
That's what the evidence seems to suggest so far.
Right. But you didn't hear anything else. You guys don't hear anything else as Congress people. You don't hear anything deeper than that. I don't know any great
secrets that you don't know.
Yeah. Do you think that Kamala Harris is the best person to run against Donald Trump right now?
Well, she is the person.
By the way, this is part of why people like Bernie, because he doesn't lie. I mean, he just doesn't lie, and that's great.
And that won't change, probably, huh?
No, she'll be the Democratic candidate, and I've known Kamala for a number of years. Not best friends, but I've known her. Mm-hmm. She was in the Senate for a short period. She's very smart, and she's determined. I mean, above and beyond her views on the issues, which I support most of them, not all. You got to give credit to somebody, a black woman, to move up the ladder. That ain't easy stuff. There's a lot of resistance to that. And she's persistent, she's strong, and I respect that. And, I think she'll be a good candidate. I was interested that Trump apparently backed out of a debate with her on ABC. And I wouldn't, I have debated her, as a matter of fact. She's tough.
She's tough. Was there a chance that you were going to get that nominee, or as an independent, can you get then plotted with the Democratic Party and put in? No. Was there even a call about it or anything?
No. I ran in 2016. I ran against Hillary Clinton, and I ran in 2020.
Yeah, I remember, and I felt like you didn't get treated fairly, to be honest with you.
I didn't, and that's what happens when you take on the establishment. So what happened is we won the first 3 primaries, and then the establishment got very, very nervous, and there were a whole lot of candidates in the Democratic primary. And they said, hey, it'd be a good idea if you all dropped out, let Joe Biden be the one candidate. People rallied around him.
And do they call? Is there a call that you get, and it's like you're not going to move forward? Is it just like news articles? Like how does the establishment
what happens
work?
is I won the popular vote in Iowa. I won the New Hampshire primary. I won the Nevada primary, and those were the first 3. And then front pages of the New York Times, Democratic establishment very nervous. Bernie Sanders could win the whole. We were doing very well in the polls. And, I think behind the scenes, people thought, there were like 15 different candidates, and they were splitting up the vote. And that's how I was not necessarily getting over 50%. I was getting more than other people. So I was on the way to victory. And they said, look, Bernie shouldn't be the candidate for a variety of reasons. We don't want him the candidate, drop out. And then on one day, a lot of people, 1 or 2 days, a lot of people dropped out. It was Joe Biden and me, and Joe had a lot of support, and all these people came behind him, and that's what happened. Let me also say, having said that, Biden is a friend of mine. I think he has done a very good job over the last 3.5 years, and I'm working very hard to see that Kamala is elected our next president.
The heat of summer is just because, right? Did it seem? It started to seem like people were losing faith in the media, right? And I feel like that's had a huge effect on society. It's created a lot of opportunities for what are often labeled as conspiracy theories, but then often end up being truth just because, or not often, but yeah, often end up being truths or having realness to them because the news media isn't even, it's like they all just go down these same similar paths, and it's not, it doesn't even feel real anymore. I mean, the fact that you and I are talking is wild. It's like I fucking wouldn't talk to me, but the fact, but
look, the bad news is bad news and good news. The good news is you got a program, and but millions of people tune into you.
Yeah,
and part of that is that people do not necessarily believe CBS, NBC, ABC, or even Fox or anybody else. And so let me tell you what I think about that. I think you're touching on an important issue. We talk about healthcare, you talk about media. You have about 8 large media conglomerates, Comcast and all these guys. They're huge.
Serious.
Exactly. They own, people turn on their
Clear Channel.
You got it. They're huge. They don't own one station. They own radio stations. They own TV stations.
Miserable.
They own movies, producers. So these are owned by very large billionaires, big companies owned by billionaires. And they will discuss issues from here to here. All right, I gave you an example about Medicare for all. We should be having a tremendous discussion why we're the only country on earth not to guarantee health care. It doesn't take place on television. We should be talking about massive income and wealth inequality. There are 3 people in America who own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Think that's appropriate?
No, sir.
Okay.
I think there should be a limit on how much a person can earn.
Okay.
To be honest with you, maybe,
Like, do you see what I mean? Oh my God, Chad. This is actually one of the main theses of my entire stream. Is that what he would probably call himself a moderate. This is what I learned after knocking tens of thousands of doors in my life. This is what it's like. A lot of people have no idea that this is a far left position. Believing in a maximum wage is a far left position. All right. He just went out there and he's like been very comfortable with the idea of Medicare for all. He's been very comfortable with the idea of a maximum wage. By the way, he's a wealthy entertainer and he's coming out for a maximum wage to tell you something.
So, some millions, but I don't think it should be billions. Someone should.
I agree with you. I agree with you, actually. And I think most Americans would. When's the last time you've seen that discussion on NBC? It ain't going to take place. All right. We have.
But that's what the people want, though.
Yes, that is exactly. That's why you're a success and why other people, with very limited resources, if you like, because you don't see that type of discussion. I just did a poll. My campaign did a poll just on these issues. Talking about issues that working class people want and need that are almost never discussed in politics or in the corporate media. And the answer is people are hurting. They want change. No one's talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's like, I don't know, the people don't even get thought of anymore, it feels like a lot of times. And here's the toughest part, I think, Bernie, is as a person who, has felt like in their life, maybe their father died in a war, their grandfather died in a war, and they've tried to pay their taxes and be a, considerate person in their town or their country. After a while, those good people starts to erode a little because they don't feel like, and they lose their sense of purpose, man. When you lose the fabric of your society, a lot of people, that's how they didn't even realize it. A lot of us don't even realize we identify as an American. And when you realize, well, America, it's nothing, but it's a shell LLC for fucking big corporations, then what am I? I'm just a idiot, and you almost feel ashamed of yourself, or you can, anyway, just, I don't know. A lot of that stuff just.
What he's talking about is the latent radicalization of late stage capitalism. And this is what so many of us are talking about. And by the way, this is why Bernie Sanders is so important. We don't have somebody who's Bernie Sanders yet. We don't have that. We have people that are really great, but they're a lot more narrow than him. Bernie Sanders covers multitudes.
We'll see how people think that that's good or how you're going to still be able to get people to buy in.
Theo, I think you said it better than I did. I mean, I agree with you. I think a lot of people are ashamed. They're giving up. They're hurting.
Yeah,
And many of these people have fought and died, or their families have fought and died in wars, and they're good people. And maybe they're, nurses and they're, business people.
Yeah, anything. Crossing guard, mailman.
Right, exactly. They believe in their community.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, they're getting ripped off by people on top politically and economically.
Well, even the radio, like you're saying, it's like you used to have like a newspaper and you read, and it meant something. Your community meant something. It used to be that your grandpa worked at the factory and they made the table that you have in your home. And so everything had a story to it. There's some connection. And now it's like we're buying stuff from countries that they're making it. They don't care. We're using it. We don't care. There's no story. Nobody has any there's no thread, the thread just gets thin.
That's a very profound point you just made.
And so how do we get it back,
It ain't easy.
Yeah.
But I think but I think you hit the nail on the head. People are, you're in Vermont, which is one of the smallest states in the country. It's a very rural state.
Beautiful.
Burlington is the largest city with 40,000. I used to be mayor here, But you go into small towns, everybody knew everybody. Often they were dairy farmers. We had a lot of dairy farmers.
I think Burlington's like 70, right? Is it still 40? I guess it's 44. I thought maybe it's the area. God, it's so small. Burlington is so small.
Those people work really hard being a dairy farmer.
It's really beautiful up there, though. Lake Champlain is very nice. It's just, it gets so cold. It gets so cold in the winter, though. That's the one thing. The winter is rough.
I used to work at Cold Stone Creamers for a while, so not the same, but I get it.
All right, but I mean, milking cows, 5 o'clock in the morning on a cold winter day ain't easy work. But there was everybody knew each other. Nobody cheated each other. There was a sense of, then you have town meetings once a year and people argue about the school budget and all that stuff. And we are losing that big time for a lot. Maybe next time we'll talk about that. But we're losing that, as you indicated, for a lot of reasons. And if we don't get it back, I worry about the future of this country.
Yeah, we can. That is kind of a bigger topic. I've heard you talk about the 32-hour work week, man. It's intriguing. Second I heard that, I'm like, I'm in.
I tell you, it got a lot of response.
Yeah, I think there was a poll. I don't know if it was a Newsweek. I don't know where it was that. The 32-hour work week, and one of the reasons behind it is why.
Okay, here's why. All right, let me back it up a little bit.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you ready for a tough question?
Let's do it.
All right. Over the last 50
By the way,
years,
do you see how Theo is getting more confident? This is part of this is just such a great organizing conversation, because you can see, even though Theo at the beginning of the conversation, I don't really know anything about politics, he's feeling more confident. He's getting more engaged. That is what our job is.
50 years, massive changes in technology, right? 50 years ago, they didn't have this stuff. Worker productivity has gone way up, right? So you're a worker now playing with technology, machinery, whether it's a computer, whether it's, factory technology, you're producing a lot more, correct? Mm-hmm. In terms of real...
you're producing more because you have machines that can help you.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Right. Much more, by the way.
Right. Okay. So a machine can do the work of 30 men in a day.
You got it. Whatever it may be. Okay. Despite all of that, increased worker productivity, is the worker of today, in real inflation accounted for dollars, making more or less money than that worker was doing, or a similar type worker 50 years ago? What's the answer?
I would say less. So less based on inflation and everything. The workers making less now than they were then.
In real dollars. Yeah, we're called real dollars. Inflation accounted for dollars.
Real dollars. Okay.
This is somebody came in and, oh no.
How insane is that? If that was a
Buy for themselves.
make it
You inequality.
no year. Where will that money go? Inflation accounted for dollars.
Real dollars.
Oh no.
How insane is that if that worker is now producing so much more than he or she did?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So now if a worker is operating a machine and that machine is doing the work of 20 workers, then why isn't there some benefit to the worker?
You would think that guy's making, woman's making more money, right? Hey, you're producing a lot more.
Yeah.
Or widgets or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, got it? Mm-hmm. Okay, making less. Where will that money go? Well, who benefited from
Oh, the big dogs, right?
Oh, that same period of time, there was a study that there was a 50 trillion, untypical, redistribution of wealth to the bottom 90% to the top 1%. So, getting back to the 32-hour work week, it's a simple idea. If you are a worker producing a hell of a lot more than was the case 50 years ago, you should benefit from that increased technology. And one of the breakout people, as you mentioned a moment ago, living under a lot of stress, right? If you can lower that work week without loss of pay.
Right. So you're saying that there needs to be some kickback to them because that's if everybody's earning more, if the company's earning more. Yeah. Some of the greed, it's just scary, man. I don't know. Yeah.
Because there's not because it's never enough for somebody like Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is never gonna say, I have enough money. I guess it's time to raise the wages. It'll never be enough. Trillions, quadrillions. They'll still pay you $10 an hour. If they had quadrillion dollars, they would pay you $10 because it's not even about money anymore. It's about power. It's about social standing. It's about their ability to tell you what to do for you not to be able to look them in the eye. That's what it's about. It's not even about like money. They're sick. They are sick. Like billionaires are sick and they need our help. And they'll be happier too. When we take their money, they'll be happier at the end. Because because they have a lot of fear and a lot of stress that somebody's going to come and punish them. Because they know they need to be punished. They know they deserve to be punished. They're afraid. That's why they build bunkers. That's why they hire security. Because they're afraid. Because they know what they're doing is wrong. And if we take their money and we make everybody's life better, they'll relax. It'll actually help them. It's good for a billionaire for me to expropriate their wealth via force.
I want to get into, but what about, would you have to raise the pay of people then? Oh, I guess you would because they're...
Yeah, but if you reduce, what you're doing here is reducing the work week, which is from 40 to 32, which, by the way, has not been changed since 1944.
Yeah, and that's when people had to do crops and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were just, people were snitting by lightning bug.
So we are a much wealthier nation now, but I want that wealth to be distributed a little bit.
Yeah.
By the way. Yeah, cool.
We're almost done. Yep. Okay. Just one more issue I want to ask, and it'll be quick. Last question. If you were to look at, if there's somebody out there today who's like a guy who you were, who wanted to see change, who, started protesting on campuses and got involved and became a mayor and wants to get into politics and really thinks that they can make a difference, what path do they need to try for themselves now with so much lobbying and stuff going on? Like, what would you tell them?
All right. First of all, what you're involved in is some politics but change. And being an elected official is one way of bringing about the change. Let's not anyway. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was never elected anything, right? He had a profound impact on this country. Never elected anything, all right? And you're seeing young people who are concerned about climate change on campuses doing big work. So go where your passion is. Your passion may be different than mine. What's your issue? I don't know this. So work on that issue. Read people. Educate, organize, greet people. And if you then decide, hey, you maybe I want to run for the state legislature, maybe I want to run for Pines, I want to get my, hands dirty in politics, do it. But first of all, don't do it just because I want to get elected. That's bad, right? Do it because you believe inside it. And
I just want to play my video games to spend time with my family, but I have to work so damn much. I get the bare minimum time with them, and when I do, I'm so damn tired. Yeah. That's why reducing working hours is one of the most important goals of the left.
Getting elected will help you do it fine.
Can you guys imagine if we got to we had 3-day weekends every weekend? Do you understand how much healthier and happier you would be? You could actually rest. Because like for me, when I take a Saturday off, I feel tired. I got all the chores that I have piled up over the course of the week, so I end up not even taking the day off. I'm just doing domestic labor the whole fucking time. You know what I mean? I'm running around for doing errands. It's not like I'm relaxing or thinking or doing much hobbies. I'm doing this fucking bullshit. I had a job where I worked 410s a week and it was amazing. Yeah, I personally think working 410s is better than 5/8s personally.
If not, you can do it in other ways.
Yeah. Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for your time, man.
Oh, Theo, thank you very much. And let me just say this. Congratulations on your programs. And what programs like this do, I'm on TV a lot. I get 7 seconds to make a point. Can't make it 7 seconds. So you can have a serious discussion about serious issues is really great. I thank you for the opportunity and thank you for what you do.
Thank you. I've always been a proponent, and thank you for just being an outspoken person who believes in things and moves forward with those beliefs.
Now I'm just floating on the breeze, and I feel I'm falling like these leaves.
I'm very curious.
For 50 years now.
I'm very curious what the comments say. Bernie Sanders sits down, says hello. Theo, I had intimacy disorders. I love how hard Bernie laughed after Theo said Kid Rock is one of his advisors. My mom had cancer and her biggest stressor was not the cancer, but her $20,000 chemo bills every 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. She was fighting for her life and she couldn't even worry about it because the medical bills were killing her faster. Notice how everybody replying to this is positive. Do you see how important this is? This is why when Bernie Sanders was running for president, young men were becoming left-wing. And now that he's not, who's filling the gap? It's fucking people like Andrew Tate and Aiden Ross and dumb fucks. If you have a normie, if you have like a Joe Rogan normie in your family and in your life, this is a good video that you could share. Tell people, if you have any Joe Rogan normies in your life, this is a video that you should definitely share with them.
She has no idea who Mike is.
Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But your name wanna start changing your ways. Change your ways. Or changing your name.